Hi everyone, it's Dr. T, and I just wanted to check in today as we kick off another week in this new normal to support everybody on how to turn your reactions into outcomes, and specifically the outcomes that you desire, right? We all know how to have our reactions create outcomes we don't desire, but this is about turning your reactions into the outcomes that you do desire. So, the thing that I'm hearing from so many people and the thing that I'm witnessing is just this massive range of emotions, right? Everything from just gripping fear and anxiety to just overwhelm and terror and sadness and confusion and uh, just frustration and all of this, what I will call a survival fear, right? Which is, of course, understandably, there's a lot going on that we need to think about in order to be able to thrive and move forward and ensure our future. And at the same time, one of the very key things here is to understand that when we are in a reactive state, unless we are in like an imminent danger in just like this moment, like right now, something's happening and somebody's actually whatever chasing you, stabbing you, whatever it might be, and you need to then have a big rush of adrenaline in order to flee or make something, just save yourself. Unless there is an actual like immediate momentary danger happening, then what happens instead is that all kinds of adrenaline gets pumping and reactivity happens and everything immediately is felt like a threat. And that is a really uh, that's a really beneficial thing when there is something immediate. But when it's really much more of a concept and something that we need to be strategic about, then what we really need is all of our cognitive capacity available to us. So interestingly, we don't want to be reacting. We want to be able to be connected and be able to process information, be able to consider it, be able to think about the outcome that we want, and then take the active steps in order to make that happen. So, for years, my entire company, which is an emotional training company, has been helping people shift their reactions and all of their reactive conditioning, which can turn into chronic mental health difficulties and disorders and struggles, and turn that into their outcomes, right? By going through a process of emotional conditioning that helps people be able to make that shift. Because otherwise, again, the experience is something's occurring before anybody really realizes it, before a person realizes it, there's an involuntary reaction. Then there's a chain of reactions, and then the person can go through the range of, terror, fear, anxiety, all of it, sadness, grief, overwhelm, procrastination. And what's really needed is for each of us to be able to connect, consider, select our outcomes, and then take any appropriate steps in order to produce them. So the way we do that is to emotionally condition yourself. We emotionally condition people in order to change that whole reactive process so that they can stay in much more of an elevated emotional state where they're capable of producing whatever outcomes are needed. And now, in a time like this, it's that much more important, right? So here I was for years and years helping people and really supporting all the people in our world through my company to shift from reactive status, right? Chronically reactive and overwhelmed, and especially the emotionally sensitive people who feel everything much more reactively, and to have people have the emotional strength to be able to just be connected, be able to consider the information without a bunch of involuntary responses happening, all of your cognitive capacity being available, and then again, being able to select intentions and outcomes and follow through with them. right? So this is a really, really important thing. And now more than ever, this is one of the most foundational, if not the most foundational human skill that could possibly ever be necessary, right? So I want to invite all of you to be able to stop reacting, to be able to be, instead of reactive, to be connected and effective, and to be able to shift that so that you can keep yourself in an elevated state and elevate through this experience without going under and essentially living in the emotional trenches, right? Because when we live in the emotional trenches, then our life goes in the trenches. And when we live in an emotionally elevated state, then we don't relapse back into those emotions, and we don't relapse into those addictions, and we don't relapse in all of the chain of reactions that can lead somebody from just a response of being overwhelmed all the way through anxiety, all the way through overwhelm and shutdown and self-medicating. And so this is especially important for people that are emotionally sensitive and also going through the process of trying to suppress those emotions with a self-medication of all kinds, right? That's why we have the world's #1 emotional training center. In fact, the only emotional training center that exists. So I want to invite all of you to just put the priority in place at this time where people actually are wondering what they can do. One of the most important things that they can do is to elevate their emotional capacity by doing some emotional training. So we've got a lot of different ways that you can learn how to do that. And if you go to our website at drtracyinc.com, we're offering services at every level and every budget so that people can get the emotional training and gain the emotional strength that they need to move through this time in a really successful way, regardless of what the circumstances are. It's the people with the top emotional strength that are going to come out of this at the top level and be able to adapt to all of this. So I'm giving you all this invitation, sending you my support, and I look forward to working with you all in our emotional training programs. Take care, everyone, and I'll see you soon.